Nvidia had earnings yesterday, beat expectations, and the market did not like a miss of millions of dollars, and that created panic in the stock for the initial 20-30 minutes. It was insane, right? The American dream continues to be full steam ahead, apparently, But the question is, can we really trust that data? The S&P 500 is sitting at all-time highs. The Nasdaq is sitting at all-time highs. It's a beautiful time to be an investor. That's why timing the market beats timing the market. But sometimes, taking money off the table is not a bad thing either.
Absolutely.
We are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Market Buzz. My peeps. The markets have been rallying, and the rally continues to rally. Nvidia had earnings yesterday. We had a little bit of a correction, both in the crypto markets and the real markets last week, and crypto continued this week a little bit. So I would definitely want to hear what the crypto market forecast from you guys is going to be and what you're doing with your portfolios for sure. So make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you want to get the news as fast as possible on Etoro. We are 3 popular investors. You can see our stats, you can see our returns, and you can see what we're holding down in the link below. So make sure you click them and use this as a reference point. And if you like to outcopy us, it's not guaranteed returns, but you have the possibility within Etoro. Welcome, Mimi. Welcome, Timothy, and myself, Nestor Mendoza. And we are going to be talking about markets today. There is a couple of things I want to share with you guys for sure, because we do feel a little bit toppy in this market. Nvidia had earnings yesterday, beat expectations, and the market did not like a miss of millions of dollars, and that created panic in the stock for the initial 20-30 minutes. It was insane, right? That was the big event of this week. We also have PCE data as well. We have inflation data, and we just had GDP, which comes in better than expected. And the American dream continues to be full steam ahead, apparently, But the question is, can we really trust that data? The S&P 500 is sitting at all-time highs. The Nasdaq is sitting at all-time highs. It's a beautiful time to be an investor. That's why timing the market beats timing the market. But sometimes, taking money off the table is not a bad thing either. All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Mimi, it's been a while since you've been with
Yes.
us. So I want to get your
Yes.
perspective on the crypto markets. What is happening, right? We saw Bitcoin touch 124. I think that was the all-time high. And then now we're seeing sort of a pullback on that.
Yeah, we're still going through a correction. And I'm still of the view that any mini rallies that we get are really just relief rallies. Timothy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I do see a little bit more downside for the market overall, so Bitcoin and crypto. A little bit of a rotation between Bitcoin and Ethereum has been happening, just like back and forth. And that's why we're probably seeing Bitcoin dominance ticking up a little bit, and then Ethereum takes over. So there's going to be a bit of a dance between them while this correction is playing out until the the alt season that we've been waiting for. That's where I'm at the moment as a whole.
Okay.
But there's still some volatility to come, in my opinion.
Okay. So do you think the volatility will be to the downside? So are you bearish short term or are you bullish?
I am bearish short term. So what I've been doing is that I'm stacking a bit of cash reserve, taking a little bit of profit off the table during the relief rallies until we see what happens in September, because I still have that view as well that the rate cuts possibly is a buy the rumor, sell the event type of event. Powell spoke, and he insinuated that somewhat, there'll be a rate cut, and then the market rallied, and then we saw a further correction after that. So there's a lot of views at the moment in terms of how low will Bitcoin go? How low will crypto go? Altcoins go? And I'd love to hear what Timothy thinks about that.
Yeah. Well, Timothy hit the nail in the head when he mentioned the Ethereum trade, right? I'm still in that trade. I did hear some rumors that Timothy might be selling some of his positions. So that's going to be very interesting to kind of hear.
I was actually trying to find your portfolio, but the dashboard of Etoro has changed. So when I look for Mimi, it's saying we can't find Mimi anymore. We don't offer Mimi.
and got kicked out.
You click the links below because they're there. Well, they're not there actually. They're not there. I didn't change them. Dang.
Yeah.
No,
So yeah, let's get back to crypto. So I'm also in the opinion that crypto still has some downside potential. And yeah, I wanna share my screen, just show the chart again. So what I'm watching basically is the 30-week cycle. So I've been trading cycles for a couple of years, and the 30-week cycle within the 4-year cycle, the last one started in April. And so we're now around 20 weeks in. So give or take 30 weeks is around November is where we can expect the next major low. So I would say Bitcoin is likely to drop a bit more lower into that November low, which at the end of each cycle is usually very bearish. Like you can have big swings down, big swing down. And I'm targeting, let's say, okay, I have some buy orders there. And then if you look at the 50-week moving average, so I don't have my, here is the 50-week moving average on the weekly chart, sits around 95k. So that's also potential target. Not saying we will get there, but that's where I definitely will be buying. And I've already been buying here at around 112, 110 even. So I'm a buyer for Bitcoin right now. Now, in terms of, where is the market heading? Which one is going to outperform? I would say if Bitcoin is continuing down, we could see some money flowing back into Bitcoin, dominance to rise a bit. But that would be like September, mid October, and I would expect the Ethereum to gain more attention again, and altcoins especially going into the end of the year. So in the short term might be more bearish for altcoins, but I think if you're a long-term holder, these things don't really matter much. Position yourself and don't get shaken out. That's what I would say.
yeah.
No.
I think it's quite scary for everyone to think Bitcoin heading towards 95k, right? And so, look, I've heard of whispers of that as well, and because there's a CME gap in that area, there's also liquidity pockets. So you've got liquidity pockets in around 105, 107, as low as 103, and then the next one, the major one, is around about that 95k level. And so, I think one thing to take into consideration for everyone is, firstly, we don't have a crystal ball. We don't know exactly where price will head. But if Bitcoin does fall and Bitcoin dominance doesn't rise too much, then altcoins won't retrace as much. So I think that's what's scary for especially altcoin holders, that if we see Bitcoin plummet to K levels, which is still okay if it does, I don't really think it will, but it's a possibility. Don't stress too much about altcoins. And like Timothy said, buy the dip, DCA, and if you're a long-term holder, it's fine.
Yeah, right now I find that there will be a lot of opportunities starting to arise, both in the crypto sector, like in the crypto market, and in the stock market as well. Like for a while, there was so many opportunities around, right? Companies that just didn't rally because everybody's looking at just one particular thing. Like looking at Nvidia earnings yesterday, interestingly enough, the big winner yesterday was Snow, right? A company was up almost 20% on the after hours because people are just not paying attention to companies like that, right? So when everybody's looking somewhere, if you're able to find value somewhere else, you're able to catch the upside. That was one of the benefits of entering Nvidia before this rally that we've seen. Nvidia was a company that was like innovating in the computer space, in the data center space. Now everybody knows about it, right? So even if we have amazing earnings, right, like we had a beat on earnings per share, we had a beat on revenue, and we had a beat on guidance, the stock even initially sells off because people are just like looking to get out, right? Like there's traders, there's momentum traders, there is investors that don't like the stock at these levels, so market dynamics can change drastically too.
Mm.
right? And in this case, I think that that's what we're seeing a little bit, right? Like you're just seeing sort of like Bitcoin at 124 is massive. It's a massive move, right? Given the fact that the start of the year, what was the low that we touched on the April lows for Bitcoin?
75K, give or take, 75K.
You know, so from the lows, we're almost sitting at 100% returns, right? And
Yeah.
Bitcoin is already a little bit more mature in this case, right? But even Ethereum, what's the return on Ethereum in this case, Timothy? But have a look at it, right? Like from the lows, it's like what?
Was it
2x?
1800?
13.
1300.
Yeah.
1300.
Right. So why is it like, why are people freaking out when we're seeing rallies like this, right? Like obviously, like many people are paying attention to the stock market whenever the highs are in, because they're like, oh, I can make a quick 5% really quickly, but that comes with downside risk, right? And I think the risks right now are just to the downside. Would they continue through the end of the year? I don't think so. I'm still bullish on the end of the year, but short term, I'm still sort of like hedging and making sure that my positions retain some of its value. You know,
I did get some questions on whether this cycle is stopped or not. Yeah, when you look at the cycle view, bull market, bear market, you're seeing we're close to that typical end of the bull market for crypto, but there is a slight difference comparing with the other cycles where you had more like a parabolic move. You can see this like a very steep rise in price. Same over here. You see the price of Bitcoin going very, very steep in a short period of time, which is very unsustainable, and then you'll get that blow off top. But right now, we haven't seen that. Yeah, you've seen some stair step pattern where it breaks out to the upside and then comes for a retest, breaks out again, comes for a retest, and now we're seeing the same. It breaks out and comes for a retest. So as long as we don't see that parabolic rise, I don't think we should be afraid of a real blow off top here, and that maybe the price rise of Bitcoin is more sustainable and can be longer than it usually is for a typical 4-year cycle. Remember here where people were saying the same, so I don't want to be like very naive that this time will be different, but it's definitely something I'm watching. And of course, if the trend changes and we'll see Bitcoin have multiple closes below the 50 weekly moving average, for me that's a sign to step back and take some positions.